And welcome to the Country Telegraph and the World today. And we have a great guest on. I've got to tell you, this guy is doing amazing work protecting, which is very odd. The wind turbines are going up because they're going to save the planet. But in doing so, they're going to destroy it also. Stephen Nowakowski is an award-winning nature photographer. Stephen, thanks for joining us. You're an award-winning witness photographer and conservationist. You're based in North Queensland in Australia, which is my favourite part of the world. Your spectacular works are in demand around Australia and the world and remind us of the precious natural wildness and wilderness on our doorstep. Stephen's recently completed a report mapping the extensive nature of Renewable Energy Project Rollout, which we have been playing. Stephen, I don't understand, and I started off this conversation, I don't understand the philosophy here. They're going to destroy the planet to save it. Can you tell me if I'm delusional or if that's about the way it looks?
It's not delusional at all. It's well, it is delusional. I'm coming to I'm trying to wrestle with this whole idea of what this idea of renewables being punched right through some of our best wild places in Australia. And it all sort of started for me about 3 years ago when I actually documented the construction of Queensland's very first industrial scale wind farm. And I was engaged by the proponents, the developers of that project to document the construction. And at the time I thought, well, this is what we need to do, to decarbonise and go towards net zero. But I quickly learnt that it's a very brutal industry on the landscape. And the energy that is generated from these renewables just don't cut it. And that's why we need so many renewables. We need so many wind farms, wind towers, to try to generate the electricity generation that we need in this modern industrial nation. So it's been a really steep learning curve for me, that's for sure.
The report you've released, why is it so important and what does it reveal?
Well, it's not a report per se. What it is, it's a map. So my previous career is in mapping. So I've got an associate diploma in cartography, which is map making. And I have a passion for maps. And we hear so much about, Chris Bowen and Matt Kean and Anthony Albanese talking about the integrated system plan and the targets that they're trying to achieve by 2035 and 2050. And we see the graphs and the charts in graph form. But I want to see that in a spatial footprint context. I want to see what 300 gigawatts of renewable energy power looks like spatially across the continent. And that's what I embarked to do. So I started off just mapping this North Queensland, and it became quickly apparent that many other communities around Australia were hungry for this information as well. So I mapped the communities in central Queensland and then western New South Wales, some parts of Victoria. And I thought, well, I'll just do the whole continent. And it's been a 3-year labour of love to do that. And it's been very challenging. The renewable developers don't make access to their data easy. But what I've done and the group that I'm involved in, which is Rainforest Reserves Australia, what we've done is actually spatially map every project that is proposed or in the pipeline in Australia. And I think your viewers would be completely gobsmacked by what they see because it entails vast amounts of infrastructure. And even I was blown away by the amount of infrastructure that is in the pipeline when you start digging into the data. Yeah, so.
Can you just tell me, because I love Queensland. I think it's one of God's gifts to mankind. But we have governments. It doesn't have to be federal. It can be state. It can be local. They have this itching of the fingers to destroy such beautiful parts of the world. And once it's gone, it's gone. But can you just tell me the response from your mapping and from your beautiful videos that we've been playing and stuff like that? Has there been a response? And if so, has it been a positive response from, say, we'll go government by the federal government?
It's really interesting because even today, Chris Bowen was asked on the floor of Parliament House, what is the government's data on this? Because there was a report just released back in May this year by the Princeton University and also the University of Queensland. It was a joint report that says that for us to get to those 2050 targets, we'll need 1.7 times the spatial footprint of the size of the state of Tasmania. So we need 1.7 times the size of Tasmania covered in glass and steel to get to those 2050 targets. So I know my data is rock solid with what I've done, which has been independent of that. And just over the last few days, Chris Bowen has been asked a number of times, particularly by the Australian newspaper, what are his figures? My figures are 540,000 hectares of solar is required. Well, it's actually in the pipeline. We actually need a lot more than that. And Chris Bowen has been asked that question, but he cannot respond. He does not know. And I think that applies right through the federal government and also all the state governments. They do not know what is going on. This is being done in such a piecemeal, ad hoc, chaotic way that no one is actually considering the cumulative impacts of all this. And me being a conservationist, that's what concerns me. It's the cumulative impact. So if we're going to go and put 3,000 wind towers in a certain geographic area, what is the cumulative impact on the raptors, on the bats, on the bird life, on adjacent national parks and protected areas? No one is doing this work. And I find it absolutely outstanding that no one is doing this work.
I think just common sense would say it'll be the destruction of a lot of species, because those that fly are in deep, deep trouble. But forget about the ones that are flying, the koalas and all the other native animals and the vegetation and stuff. They're gone. They're going to be bulldozed through. And I don't understand. I mean, in the days of Bob Brown and, say, Christine Milne even, we're going right back, the Greens were at the forefront. They were leading the way. All I can see at the moment is, as I said at the start, it seems to be to save the planet, they're going to destroy it. Here's another thing. Have they thought through if there's a bushfire, and there will be fires because that's part of our heritage? You can't use planes to put the fires out because of the height of the wind turbines. Do you think they thought much about that?
I know there's been no consideration at all, and we're actually seeing the regional or the rural fire brigades pushing back against some of these projects because they are very concerned about how they're going to tackle these fires in these regional areas. But that's just one of many issues. There's issues around decommissioning, environmental bonds. So for example, renewable projects do not require environmental bonds, which blows my brain. If you're a mining proponent, you need to have environmental bonds to clean the site up if you would go into liquidation or receivership. There is no, I didn't even know what a decommissioning plan is for a wind farm. No one's explained that to me. I know in other countries, they put explosives at the base of the towers and drop them down like trees. And that's what they do. That's the decommissioning plan. Then they try to chop them up and salvage what they can. But this is the thing. There is no decommissioning plan in the approval process. So what my mapping is showing is that we've got 31,000 wind towers existing and proposed, about 24,000 wind towers proposed. We don't know what's going to happen with those in 20 years' time, 25 years' time. No idea. And you've got to replace the concrete foundations. You can't reuse those concrete foundations. They need to be redone. And the second highest emitting industry on earth is the production of cement. Yet we need to redo these concrete slabs in 20, 25 years' time. And these concrete foundations are 800 to 1,000 cubic metres in size, in volume. To give you a sense of scale, an average 3-bedroom home is 18 cubic metres.
Oh,
But these wind tower foundations are up to 1,000 cubic metres. So to give you an idea of scale, the Clark Creek wind farm alone has 195 wind towers. You times that by 1,000 cubic metres of cement, we're talking about huge volumes of cement that's required for this rollout. So the figures are staggering, and some of the figures I've got from the mapping, for example, 44,000 kilometres of new haulage roads need to be pushed through forested areas and high value agricultural country to get the turbines into locations. We're looking at 31,000 wind towers, 450,000 hectares of solar. So these are really big numbers, and they're very hard to comprehend, these big numbers for this. And I don't think our city friends really understand what's involved. They have no idea.
I don't think they care, to be honest. But that's not new. I mean, if on the land, city people really didn't care. Oh, it was a lovely visit to the country once every couple of years. They enjoyed their picnics and stuff, but they didn't really care because I think a lot of it, they trusted government and stuff like that, which we should never do. I'm just thinking, though, the environmentalist, where are they?
They're completely missing in action.
Wonder why that would be. Why would that be, do you think? Are they just ignorant, or is it too much for them, or have...
No, I think there's a couple of factors at play. First of all, they don't know how to nuance themselves because they've been campaigning for renewables for 20 years, for 2 decades. And now that these renewables are completely smashing our forests to smithereens, particularly here in Queensland, they don't know how to now step back and say renewables are bad, or even some renewables are bad. They don't know how to use that nuanced language, and they don't know how to do it. Secondly, there's a lot of money at play, and there's organisations like the Sunrise Project, Boundless Earth, Groundswell, that are pumping a lot of money into these green groups. And these groups, unfortunately, are completely captured by this funding. And I've seen that firsthand, the capturing of environmental groups by the funding they receive from organisations like the Sunrise Project.
And that's just terrible. I just got to think, because we have to, I mean, I'll ask you how we can do more, but in my mind, we have to do more. We have to start screaming. It's like someone being dragged off to the dentist. Almost as bad as that. But we have to scream and no, 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 because once it's gone, it has gone. And the destruction, I mean, your videos, I have to tell you, I was horrified when I was watching these. It's just like, because I didn't know about it. I know I hate turbines, by the way, but it's the money being poured into it is not from Australia. It's been poured in from overseas interest. And they don't care about Australia. Who cares about the Great Dividing Range? Can I just ask you? We're based on the Gold Coast, even though we broadcast globally. Can you just tell me? Do they have any turbines planned for our beautiful hinterland?
No, there's no turbines planned for your hinterland, which is like Binnaburra, O'Reilly's, and Tamborine Mountain. No. The reason being is because there's no high voltage transmission lines nearby. And that's what my mapping shows. It really shows where developers are putting in these towers and solar farms and BESSs. They want to get in close to those high voltage transmission lines. So what we're seeing is this is a developer driven industry, and government is taking a step back and streamlining it and fast tracking it. So developers cherry pick where they want to go, and which is generally the cheapest locations adjacent to high voltage transmission, and then governments just let them go hell for leather and do that. And that's why regional communities are at the forefront of this, because Governments have no planning mechanisms. There's no plans on where this infrastructure should be going. The developers are coming into town and going, there's a high voltage line, we'll set up shop there and stuff the community, we're going to do what we want.
Mm.
And that's what's happening because there is no overarching planning scheme, no mechanism for anything. It's absolutely crazy. I know we're going to look back at this time in history. In 20 years' time, we'll look back at this and go, this is just an absolutely crazy time. What were we thinking? That we let international companies walk roughshod over us and just decimate our communities, our natural environment, and also jeopardise our energy security.
Mm.
And also too, we're not going to end up with an energy system that's going to be functional and will work. And it's really not going to bring down emissions either, because if you look at the ISP, we still need 15 gigawatts of new gas generation to keep the lights on when none of this works. And that's why Andrew Forrest is building a brand new LNG gas import terminal in Port Kembla right now to import gas into the East Coast to keep the lights on when the wind towers don't work. It's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
But they're destroying our country, and we need to have a longer conversation. We've been pushed for time. But if somebody wants to find out more or to support what you do, and I have to, I mean, I don't normally endorse products, but I endorse this with my whole heart because once it's gone, and we need to get behind you, Stephen, and your organisation. Tell us more about that quickly.
Yeah, so we're all volunteers. We have a very small charity up here in North Queensland called Rainforest Reserves Australia. Mm-hmm. And we plant trees. You know, we run a nursery, we plant trees, and we try to connect forested areas. You know, so we work with landholders and we repair streams and water creek lines and rivers and river banks. That's what we do. It takes us about 5 years to revegetate 10 hectares, yet the renewable energy industry comes in and they'll destroy 400 hectares in a few months. And so Rainforest Reserves Australia, go to the website, subscribe, and feel free to donate because we're all volunteers.
Yeah, Stephen Nowakowski, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
We will do more of this. This is the Country Telegraph. Chris McDonald is the manager of Bay Leaps Farm. Now, they're an organic dairy farm and a small farm shop on the outskirts of Newcastle upon Tyne, in the small village of Heddon on the Wall. I've never heard of it before, but someone's going to tell me a lot more about it, how magnificent it is Chris McDonald, who loves chatting to Jen very late at night and having a great conversation. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Good morning to you. Yeah, so
Good morning to you too, sir.
Yeah.
Tell us about, actually, first of all, tell us about the village of Heddon on the Wall.
Right, so Heddon on the Wall is obviously in Northumberland, and it's right on the edge of the Roman wall from basically Carlisle to Wallsend, Newcastle, which stretches about sort of 80 miles that people walk along every day of the week, basically. The Romans built it nearly 2,000 years ago, and it's basically a historic monument. A lot of it's still there, good to see, and people enjoy it from around the world. And they're passing by us. Not many people call in, but they do, either by on foot or they have other ways of doing that. You know, they walk part of the wall and then go and have a sleep and get taxied back. So it's a great place. We're just outside, Newcastle, which was the king of coal at once upon a time. Mm-hmm. Lovely countryside, and we're here in between Heddon on the Wall and a big fast A69 road, to be honest.
Yep. Tell me about your products. I mean, why do they taste, in your opinion, better than others?
Right. So our products, we've been organic now since 2016, which is a drive towards a better product for the wholesale side of milk and basically for the retail side. And we've basically gone back to basics from being really a farmer who was industrialized sort of system with cows inside. Now we've gone totally opposite, where we mob graze our cows outside on Northumberland's herbal lays, and then they come inside the buildings on a night time to eat a herbal lay, as I say, a running buffet. and it really worked for us. And doing that, we've also got a different blend of cows. So the Holstein cow's gone out. We've gone back to the old dairy shorthorn, the Ayrshire, the Swedish and Norwegian Reds, the old-fashioned Friesian. And we've got a nice Jerseys in there as well, nice blended genetics. It's won us an awards just 3 years in a row with raw milk.
Yeah, they say a happy cow makes better milk and butter and stuff. And we had I was watching a video with Stanley Tucci doing a food show through Tuscany in Italy, and he went to there was a farm which the Indians had moved into to run and whatever, and they looked after their cows magnificently, and they said the output was even better than before because the cows are happy. Are your cows happy?
My cows are happy, yeah, and not only that, I'm happy as well, because that's a big thing in life as farmers, as you know. So we've got happy cows, which are they're easy care cows, and we learned some of this from New Zealand and Australian farmers as well. Basically, now I've adopted a happy, easy cow system, which I have to milk more cows because I don't get the quantity of milk, but I get a quality of milk, which has then moved our business forward to raw milk, raw cheese, raw yogurt, ghee, and it's opened some avenues which I never had before because I went down this route. So we do sell raw milk to the public. They can come and get it from vending machines, and the cows basically are on a herbal lay. This is what cows were eating 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago. We're not pushing them. We grow it on Northumberland fields best we can, and it's there. So no wagons coming in, no ships coming in with soya, or we're not feeding waste products from the industry of the human industry with all the E numbers in. We're feeding the cow what a cow should eat. Simple as that. And that's what I say to my customers, and it's on the wall when they come down. That's what we do, and I have to make it work. I only sell a small percentage through my farm shop and my little retail business, but I need to grow it, which is a big challenge in my life.
You don't use Bovia, I think it's the right way to pronounce it. Are many, and I think it's terrible anyway, by the way, are many farmers avoiding it?
There's a lot of farmers that can't avoid it because of the milk buyer, but I don't buy any food, so I can't put it in. So and I won't put it in either because the organic people won't let that unless somebody gives them a backhander somewhere. But, you're not allowed to put it in. Everything you do, you have to go through the organisation, and I can't see them agreeing to put in this inhibitor into a cow's ration. So I've got a big sign on my wall. We're full fart milk basically. We don't use Bovia, but it's Bovia free. So all the products we have are Bovia free, and I just think it's wrong. You're stopping a cow doing its natural rumination by putting this additive in to stop it burping.
Yeah, I mean, the farmers here, I don't know what you guys are like in the UK, but the farmers in Australia, if they were told to give, some do, but most of them would say politely to go away. And because it's done by, people who live in the city. And then they go on about cows and sheep and those, destroying the planet. Two reports. One report said it's 0.003%, which is nothing, and the other report didn't have the 3 on it. So it's all hype. It's all BS, as we would say. What about the soil, though? I have here that you're a soil enthusiast. When I was a kid, I loved soil, or the dirt. I used to jump in puddles and everything. You don't do that, do you?
If I can, I do. Yes, I love my soil. It's all about, if I don't have the soil, I can't run my farm. We're all dependent on this 6 inches of soil that's around parts of the earth. Obviously, not in the city. We need it, and we need to learn a lot about what our forefathers did and what it was like to start with. And there's areas in Northumberland we can go back and see that this is how the fields used to be, 300-400 years ago, because it hasn't been tapped into. The same thing will happen in Australia. I've watched videos in Australia about how it was, when the settlers first got there, and it's so different now. It's just been farmed out. So the soil is really important, and we need to get the message across to other farmers, and it's getting there slowly. Unfortunately, it's big business that drives most things, and they're difficult to move on. That's the problem. Money talks.
It does, but so does the end product too. And I think we all crave better quality. people sometimes are a little bit blasé towards it, but you can tell the difference. But profitability at the end of the day, if you look after, I mean, it's like a car. If you look after it, it's going to last you a long time. And the same with your soil. And the temptation is always to use chemicals, isn't it? But we have to resist that. Is there a future in your style of farming, or is it you think too hard for many people? And do you think that people are a little impatient, and they want the instant gratification? And in doing what you're doing, it takes a bit of love and some hard work, doesn't it?
Initially, it does, but you hit the nail right on the head there. When using chemicals and fertilizers, you can see a response within overnight. They've killed the bad stuff and they've killed the good stuff as well, but you don't see that. So unfortunately, they've been educated in a system like I was, where you could get responses quickly with nitrogens and chemicals, but it's been a degradation of the soil. The big issue with organics, and this is why actually the government used to do, but stopped helping at the moment, because Labour don't seem to want to help us do anything, really. I think someone's taking the light bulb out of the light switch with Labour at the moment. You can't understand. Anyway, so you need about 2 years to actually get your soil working again, to forget about the drugs it's had. And if you're not careful, you can go bust doing it. That's a danger. So you need to just have a mentor. I have mentors. I went on lots of courses and talked to lots of farmers, and find a way of having that burden eased over the 2 years. I'm lucky I've got a lot of cows, but I also need to grow crops which I can't get manure on. So you've got to grow crops which help you to sequester and rebuild your soil. And there's crops out there that do that, cover crops or other crops like Fabia beans, for instance, which stop you going bust in the meantime. I don't want to be negative, but you have to be careful. It's the soil. You don't realise how bad the soil is until you go organic, and you think this wouldn't grow anything unless it had the chemicals. It's getting worse and worse every day. It's like burning. It's like starting to take your house down, a wooden house, and burning it on your fire. Eventually, they have nothing left. Yep. That's how bad it is, and they don't get it.
You did right there. Yeah. If somebody wants to find out more about you or Baysleep Farm or Heddon on the Wall, how do they do that, Chris?
Yeah, well, we're on Google under Baysleep Farm Organics. I've got a phone number. We've got an email. You could email me for advice or information. We do have a Facebook page, which I put little bits out on every now and again. We also grow potatoes. We sell potato crisps, Geordie Mac potatoes. So potato crisps. So I'm actually a Lancashire lad living in Northumberland. So that's why I don't quite sound like a guy from Newcastle. But you probably wouldn't realise that. But you canny man, you canny, yeah. You're going to oot tonight. You're going to oot. You're a lassie. So I totally. I've been here 30 years up here. I still haven't got it. Sometimes people say, "Well, stop doing that because you sound like you're from Wales and you've got an Indian Newcastle accent." So I don't do it so often.
Thank you so much. Look, Chris, it's a great conversation. I could go longer, but I'll probably have Ofcom after me if we keep this going. But it's a pleasure always, sir, and we will do this again. And I just think next time we might even get you out on outside, and you can introduce us to some of your favourite cows. How's that?
Yeah.
Chris McDonald, manager of Baysleep Farm. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
This is the Country Telegraph.
The British countryside, natural, tranquil, beautiful. It's an environment created and maintained by our farmers, working the land and caring for the livestock. But for farmers, all is not as peaceful as it seems. Long hours, isolation, unpredictable weather, animal disease. And then there's the bills, the vet's bills, the maintenance, the feed for the animals, the loneliness, the constant struggle, plus the expectation you'll pull through and hand it on to the next generation. Farmers need support. They may seem strong, but they are vulnerable and in need of support just like everyone else. With your help, the Farming Community Network can be there to provide support to those who are struggling to cope in the farming community.
Hello, you're speaking with Alison from the Farming Community Network. How may I help you?
Whether the issue is personal or business related, our volunteers are there to support anyone who seeks our help, walking with them and helping them find a positive outcome to their situation.
Every year, our volunteers travel over 130,000 miles in support of the farming community, helping approximately 6,000 people. But in order to do this, we need your help. We rely heavily on donations in order to continue this vital work.
My name is Minette Batters. I am President of the National Farmers Union and represent 55,000 farming and growing businesses across England and Wales. I think it's important to make the point that actually sometimes farming can be lonely. I know on my farm it seems an idyllic spot today, but through the winter, this winter, it was a tough time. And FCN are there for you, not only when things have gone really challenging and really difficult, but there to support you on that journey. And that is why they are such an important charity to me and to the NFU as a whole.
Whether you choose to fundraise for us or simply make a donation, you will be helping farmers and their families gain access to the support they desperately need. On behalf of everyone at the Farming Community Network, we thank you.
Jeremy Buxton, incredible career. He had a pretty cushy. He used to do all the sports stuff that you see on TV, and he was just, I mean, he even knows a lot about Australia, but 12 years in Paris and doing the Australia and the Australian Football League, AFL football, which I find it interesting that we give it to an English person to look after our footy. But anyway, didn't do my side much good. Jeremy, thanks for joining me. Who did you follow in Australia?
Hello, Mike. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good. Who did you follow? Did you follow any footy sides in
Yeah,
Melbourne?
I did. Well, this is some time ago now, but this was about 14, 15 years ago. I was actually embedded with the Geelong Cats for a period of time.
Oh, terrible person.
Yeah, just after they won the AFL for the first time in a long time in their history. So I went and
They played St Kilda then.
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
And I have never let my Geelong friends live this down because they stole the game. The umpire was obviously a relative of the coach, and one of the goals wasn't a goal; it was a point. Anyway, so because you worked with TV and stuff, sports television, you would have seen that Geelong cheated my side out of a grand final win. So thank you for bringing that up. I've been having professional help since then, and you've just undone all that. Hey, tell me about your farm. I mean, you've gone from, and it's a very exciting career to still a very exciting career, but at opposite ends.
yeah. Well, that's right, Mike. In our area, a lot of people think of me as the Jeremy Clarkson of our area. Basically, I've gone from media to farming. We farm in a very small hamlet called Booton in Norfolk, which is in the east of England. And it's a traditional family farm. I'm the third generation farmer. We're a mixed farming, a suckler herd, arable cropping. However, since I've came back to the farm, we've made some monumental changes. And the biggest of those changes is starting this regenerative journey, changing from conventional, slightly intensive farming to a more regenerative farming with nature approach.
Yeah, that's it's an interesting move there because, I mean, I grew up on the land, and I think when they didn't have automobiles in my day, but it was chemical, pump it, do this, spray Roundup on your weeds and stuff, and that was then, and the thought of not using those chemicals was pretty wild. You wouldn't do it. Now it seems to be growing in popularity. Why would this be so?
I think it's the state of society, the state of the environment, climate change. There's many external pressures that are awakening both farmers and consumers to how we grow our food and the management and practices that we use. It just does not make sense to spray chemicals on food that we consume. And I think society is waking up to that. And that, there are the knock-on effects that using those chemicals has on our health. And we're becoming more and more health conscious. So therefore, we've got to be far more considerate about the food that we produce.
Is it, and I said many farms are doing it, not only in the UK, but around the world. Is it okay, at the end of the day, you're in business, you need to make money. We'll talk about your side efforts with your wife, Catherine, who obviously is the more intelligent and better looking part of the relationship. I can say that because you're there and I'm here, and also because I'm married, so I know what to say and when to say it generally. But if you didn't have those side interests such as glamping and shop, that sort of stuff, can you actually make a buck out of it? Can you last to make a buck out of it?
It's a great question, Mike, because it's a journey, and I think you have to be committed to the journey. And for sure, at the beginning of the journey, we are seeing drops in yields. However, with the drop in yields, there's the drop in the inputs that we're using. So it's a fine balance, but if you get it right, and this is the really important thing, you have to go into regenerative farming, understanding and accepting that there will be failures along the way. A lot of this is uncharted territory. So basically, it's that understanding that you're going to make mistakes. There are going to be crop failures. However, we're learning all the time from those crop failures, so they're not repeated. So to answer your question, I believe we're certainly not in the worst place than we were when we were farming conventionally. And actually, I think the progress that we're making because we're investing in our soils. The soils are our main capital asset, and we're constantly reinvesting in them. So our capital assets are actually improving all of the time. So although yields may have dropped slightly and they're now beginning to lift up again, we're in a better place, certainly. And we're only a short way into this journey as well. I mean, in another 5 years' time, I'm extremely confident that we will be in a really strong financial place. And of course, like you said, we're very fortunate that we have many diversifications, and that's forward planning as well, to make sure that we've got a safety net underneath the farm should we have any problems with the arable cropping or any other issues.
But you've diversified with your other interests. Tell us about these, and please don't forget to credit Catherine with most of the inspiration and determination.
Mike, you're a kind man. Catherine's going to love you. It all started with a campsite. So we moved into tourism. We're lucky enough that we live in a beautiful area of England. We're close to the coast. We're close to the fine city of Norwich. We've got the Norfolk Broads just down the road. So we're a real sort of launch pad for discovering our area, which tailors itself perfectly for having a campsite, various glamping options. And then that also led into retail. As you see me here, I'm sitting in our farm shop, which really is the jewel in our crown. We love our farm shop, and it's growing from strength to strength.
Yeah, I think we have to diversify. Jeremy Clarkson was saying that government was saying you must diversify, take up other interest on your land. And he said that was all very, very well. However, local council were very unhelpful. They would block you every move you made. Did you have that trouble with your councils, with your local government? Because Jeremy was quite scathing on what was happening to him. Now, he has the notoriety of being very, very famous and being very wealthy. For someone a bit smaller, could become quite difficult if you have local government saying, yes, that's a good idea. However, no, 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 and no.
Again, it's a great question, Mark. I think we went out of our way to make sure that we got on well with our local councils. And of course, from area to area, local councils change in their policies and regulations all over the country, all over the world. So we made a point of explaining them, exactly what we wanted to do, really clear, concise communication, and the impact that it would have on the local area and the local community. And all of those impacts were positive to the community and to the local economy.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I was just thinking, your glamping, because I'm a real bushy, as we would say. Anything without room service, I'm not at all interested. Glamping, though, however, is very tempting. Tell us about your glamping. I mean, is it on the increase? Is it a good side interest, or could it become even one of the forces propelling your farm into profitability?
Well, the tourism is certainly a great revenue stream for us, Mike. I think as we're moving forward, we're learning as busy farmers that we need to be really time efficient. So we're actually putting more emphasis on the camping. That is caravans, motorhomes, camper vans, pitching up, because of course there's not as much after service that is required with glamping. So that although we do have camping pods, shepherd's huts, etc., the stays with those are only sort of 1, 2, 3 nights, the novelty factor. And of course, you've got all the changeovers. So we're actually driving our business now more towards the camping, pitching up, parking a caravan and letting them get on with it. It's a much more time efficient way of doing it, basically.
Do you ever watch Clarkson's Farm? I mean, next question is on top of that, would you ever get a Lambo?
Brilliant. Look, we are great fans of Clarkson's Farm. My son absolutely adores it, and it's a great program. And I think as all farmers, we've got to thank Jeremy Clarkson for putting farming in the living rooms of people who wouldn't normally be interested in our industry, which is a fantastic achievement. Would I get a Lambo? Listen, mate, I'm not a machinery kind of guy. A tractor's a tractor, be it blue, red, silver, whatever. But all credit to Jeremy for doing what he's doing.
Yeah, I was appalled because Australia, we don't have Lambos. We have massive Fergusons and maybe a John Deere here and there. But when he had the Lambo, and I'm thinking, oh, my dad he would be rolling in his grave if he could see this. If somebody wants to find out more about your farm, about Eves Hill Farm, how do they do that?
Well, look, we're on all the usual socials, Mike. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I have a LinkedIn page. I'm very involved in our industry from a personal point of view, trying to pioneer and push regenerative farming further and beyond where it is now. So, anyone who's interested, do look us up at Eves Hill Farm.
And I just got a message from Catherine, by the way. She said to say never, ever develop a veranda, which is his stomach, like Jeremy Clarkson. As you get older, he must never do that. I mean, but he actually, on one hand, he typifies a farmer, doesn't he? But on the other hand, he is nothing like a farmer. So good on him for bringing to the attention of the entire world some of the issues that are facing farmers, and they are very serious. And I mean, what you've done is great. But, for you, there are probably 10 others that are really doing it tough. So we feel for those. But your story is just, it's an inspiration except the Geelong Cats bit. I mean, the rest of you, because you stole our grand final. You stole it from us. And never will I ever say otherwise, except we were robbed.
Let it lie, Mike. Let it lie. It's been too long.
I can't. I have to get hold of my psychiatrist later, which is my wife, by the way. A great conversation. Jeremy Buxton, thank you so much for your time.